So, vector art, what exactly is it? If you work in promotional products, chances are you hear or say the words vector art at least 10 times a day. And vector art is vital to printing crisp looking promotional products, but 95% of us have no clue what it is. So the actual definition of vector art is a very complex sort of idea, and it's quite difficult to explain. But what it boils down to is vector art is a piece of art that was created using some sort of vector illustration software. We know Adobe Illustrator very well. And what these programs do is they use mathematical equations and geometric principles, things like points, lines, shapes, to create art that is clean, camera ready, and art that can be scaled infinitely without any loss of quality or fidelity. So why is being able to scale so important to us with people's logos? And in promotional products, the idea is we can take the same logo and print it on the barrel of a pen, or we can blow it up and print it on an 8-foot banner without losing any of the crispness of the logo. And if you try and do that with something that's not vector art, the art's going to get grainy and you're not going to be able to see any of the detail in it, and you're just going to lose all of the quality of it. So now that we know what vector art is, how do we know if the artwork that we were sent is in fact vector? And the first thing to check is the file type. The most common types of vector art are a .ai file, a .eps file, or a .pdf file. But just be aware that just because a file is saved as one of those 3 file extensions, it's not a sure thing that the file you received is actually vector art. All right, so oftentimes a customer will send us a JPEG or a PNG. So we're going to work with this logo here. This file is a JPEG. It's the West Coast Classic. It looks nice when it's here on your computer, but we can immediately figure out whether this is vector or not by zooming in on it, right? So zoom in, you'll start to notice that it gets fuzzy here around the edges. It's not crisp. The lines are sort of hard to see. They're kind of blurry. And you can see that the text begins to fade out as we get closer. So that's a sure sign that this is not vector art. And that we need to either send this to recreation or ask the customer to send us vector artwork as a .ai or .eps file. So the next thing I want to cover is what I like to call the old pasted graphic trick. What happens here is you'll go back to a customer and say, hey, what you sent me is not vector, it's a .png or a .jpeg, and we can't use it to print. And what that customer will do is ask, oh, what exactly do you need then? You tell them we need it in a .ai format, and they'll go ahead and take the file, that exact JPEG or PNG, and paste it into the AI program and send it to you as an AI file and think that that's vector. So this is what this looks like here. So this here is in AI, looks like a standard AI file, but when you start to zoom in on it, you realize immediately that you're losing all the crispness, and this is in fact not a vector format file. So again, this is not something we can use. If a customer tries to pull this on you, just politely explain to them that just because it's saved as a .ai file, it's not something that we can use to print. It still needs to be converted to vector, and we can help them with that, but it will take us 24 hours, or maybe then design that logo to go back and send the original vector format. The pasted graphic trick can also be done using a PDF file. What they'll do is they'll go back into that JPEG or PNG and save that file as a PDF. The result looks something like this, right? So you open it up, it probably open like this at 100%. You start zooming in, you start to see, hey, look, these edges are blurred, they're not crisp. This is not something we'll be able to use to print. We can't edit this. We can't really do anything with it. So again, explain to them, we can send it to Recreation and have it converted to vector for them. It'll probably delay the process 24 to 48 hours, or they can go back to their graphic designer and see if they can send the original vector format. All right, so let's take a look at some actual good vector artwork and sort of how we use it and what it looks like. Right, so you can see here immediately when I click it, it sort of outlines all of the separate pieces of this, because I can then go into each one and make different edits, right? So let's just say this red piece here, I want to change the color of this A to, I don't know, let's say a purple. So there you go. You can start doing things like that. You can see I can scale it and I don't lose any of the integrity of it. I can make it smaller and it still looks amazing. I can make it giant and it still looks just as sharp. The other thing we can start doing with actual vector art is we can start making mock-ups. So if I take this, I can scale it down and I can put it on this hat. There you go. It's a nice looking beanie right there for the West Coast Classic. And then I can take that exact same art and I can throw it on this t-shirt and make it larger. It still looks extremely clean, right? So that's the key to vector art is you don't lose the integrity of it as you scale it up, as you scale it down. You can make changes to it. You can move things around. You can delete art. You can change the color of different things. So that's really why you need vector art in order to be able to print, because once you start blowing up JPEGs or PNGs, these are going to get all grainy and you're going to lose all of the crispness of the art, which is probably going to lead to some very unhappy customers.